You pull up to a car wash on a Tuesday afternoon. The line is 12 cars deep. You think nothing of it. You pay your $8, drive through, and move on with your day. But the person who owns that machine you just drove through, their life looks nothing like what you imagine. And once you see it, you will never look at a car wash the same way again. Here is what most people picture when they think about owning a car wash. Passive income, a machine that prints money while you sleep, a business that runs itself. That picture is not wrong, but it is dangerously incomplete, because the version of car wash ownership that nobody talks about is the one that happens before the money ever shows up, and that version is far more interesting. Let us start at the beginning. You have decided to invest. Maybe you read about it online. Maybe a friend mentioned the margins. Maybe you saw one of those YouTube videos where someone says they make $40,000 a month and spend 4 hours a week working. Whatever got you here, you are now sitting across from a business broker, and they are showing you a number. Let's say the number is $1.2 million. That number is not random. Car washes are valued on a multiple of their EBITDA, which stands for earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. If the business earns $200,000 a year in profit, a broker will often price it at 4 to 6 times that number. So you're not buying a machine, you're buying a cash flow stream, and the price of that stream is determined by how reliable it has been and how reliable it is expected to be. Here is where your brain starts doing something interesting. You start anchoring on the best-case scenario. The seller shows you financials from the last 12 months. Revenue looks strong. Expenses look manageable. You do the math on a napkin, and it works. But a Stanford economist named Amos Tversky spent decades studying exactly this kind of decision-making. He found that humans are systematically optimistic when evaluating investments they feel emotionally drawn to. And there's something about owning a physical business, something you can touch and see and drive through, that makes the emotional pull very strong. So you hire a due diligence firm. Or you should, because the first thing a smart buyer does before spending 7 figures is verify every number the seller has given them. You're looking at tax returns, not just profit and loss statements. You're checking utility bills, because water and electricity are the 2 biggest variable costs in a car wash, and they tell you everything. You're counting cars. Literally, you sit in a parking lot across the street with a notepad or a traffic counter, and you watch how many vehicles go through on a Tuesday, a Saturday, a rainy day in November. That last part matters more than people realize. Car wash revenue is not linear across the seasons. In states with harsh winters, volume can drop 60 to 70% in January and February. In desert states, summer heat drives people indoors and away from discretionary spending. The machine does not care what month it is. The debt payment doesn't care either. Let us talk about the debt. Most buyers do not pay cash. They use an SBA 7A loan, which is a small business administration loan designed specifically for acquisitions like this. The terms are often favorable, 10% down, long repayment period. But the moment you sign that loan, you have obligations. Every single month, regardless of weather, regardless of equipment failure, regardless of whether a new competitor opens 3 blocks away, you owe that payment. A researcher named Robert Langer at MIT did foundational work on systems and how they behave under stress. His core insight was that complex systems do not fail in complicated ways, they fail at their weakest point. And in a car wash, the weakest point is almost always equipment. The tunnel conveyor, the high-pressure nozzles, the dryers at the end of the line. These machines run all day, every day, in a chemical-rich, water-heavy environment. They break. And when they break, they don't send you a polite email. They break on a Saturday morning in July, your busiest hour of your busiest day, and now you have a line of frustrated customers and a repair technician who cannot come until Monday. This is the part of the business that doesn't fit in the highlight reel. You're not just an investor, you're a facilities manager. You need to understand the mechanical systems well enough to triage problems, to know when something can wait and when it can't, to have vendor relationships already in place before the emergency happens. The owners who treat this like a purely passive investment are the ones who get surprised. The ones who succeed treat it like what it actually is, a manufacturing operation that also happens to serve customers. Now let's talk about the model you chose, because not all car washes are built the same. There are three dominant formats: the in-bay automatic, which is the small single unit you might see at a gas station; the express exterior tunnel, which is the long conveyor belt style you drive through in 2 minutes and exit without anyone touching your car; and the full service wash, where employees vacuum your interior and hand dry your exterior. Each model has a completely different labor profile, margin structure, and operational complexity. The express tunnel is currently the format getting the most investor attention, and for good reason. The unit economics are compelling: high throughput, low labor, scalable with a membership model. A researcher and business strategist named Bradley Sugars identified what he called the membership conversion rate as the single most important metric in recurring revenue businesses. In the car wash industry, operators who convert 30% or more of their customers to unlimited monthly memberships fundamentally change their business. Instead of revenue that fluctuates with weather and season, they now have a predictable base income that shows up every month regardless of how much it rains. This is the flywheel that the best operators have figured out. You price the membership at somewhere between $20 and $35 per month. You make the value proposition obvious: unlimited washes for less than the cost of 3 single visits. The customer wins because they save money. You win because you now have cash flow you can forecast, and the data shows that members wash their cars 2 to 3 times more often than non-members, which means higher throughput and more word of mouth without more marketing spend. But here is the part that most people gloss over. Getting to 30% membership conversion requires marketing. It requires staff who can upsell at the point of sale. It requires a clean, fast, consistent experience every single time, because the moment a member has a bad wash, they cancel. And it requires you to manage churn, which is the rate at which members leave your program each month. The industry average churn is somewhere around 6 to 8% monthly. That means every month you are losing a meaningful percentage of your members, and you need to replace them with new ones just to stay flat. So now your job has expanded again. You are a facilities manager, a financial analyst, and a marketing operator. You are tracking cost per acquisition. You are running local digital advertising. You are managing your Google reviews, because a car wash with a 4.2-star rating on Google will meaningfully underperform a competitor with a 4.7. This is not a passive investment anymore. This is a business. And yet, the people who embrace that reality, who lean into the operational complexity rather than running from it, who build systems and checklists and hire well and obsess over their membership numbers, those people build something remarkable. A well-run express tunnel in a high-traffic location can generate $400,000 to $600,000 in annual EBITDA. A portfolio of 3 to 5 locations can produce the kind of income that most people spend their entire careers chasing. A business strategist named Mike Mikolovich, in his research on small business ownership, found that the owners who scaled fastest were not the ones with the most money or the most connections. They were the ones who built what he called a self-managing company, a system where the business could run without them being present for every decision. In a car wash, that means documented processes for opening and closing. It means trained shift leads who can handle customer complaints and minor equipment issues. It means a preventative maintenance schedule that catches problems before they become emergencies. The investors who figure this out early are the ones who eventually do approach something resembling the passive income dream, not because the machine runs itself, but because they built a team and a system that runs it for them. Here's what your week actually looks like once you're past the first year. Monday morning, you review the weekend's numbers: revenue per car, membership signups, churn from cancellations, chemical costs per wash. You are looking for anything that moved in the wrong direction. Tuesday, you drive by the site, not to micromanage, but to see it through the eyes of a customer. Is the entrance clean? Are the menus legible? Is there a queue forming that is backing up onto the street? Wednesday, you might be on a call with your SBA lender reviewing your quarterly financials. Thursday, your equipment vendor calls about the preventative maintenance visit scheduled for next week. Friday, you post a local promotion on social media to drive Saturday volume. That is not a 40-hour work week. In year 2, it might be 10 to 15 hours, but it is also not 4 hours, and it is never 0, because the business will always need your attention, not your presence, but your attention. You pulled up to a car wash on a Tuesday afternoon and paid $8 without thinking about it. That $8, multiplied by hundreds of transactions a day, multiplied by 365 days, is the engine underneath somebody's entire financial life. And now that you can see the engine, the person sitting on the other side of it does not look like a passive investor anymore. They look like someone who made a very specific decision to build something real, something that runs on systems and discipline, and the kind of patience that most people never develop. They look like you if you're ready to do what it actually takes.
Sarapakaraib.